Tolino, what an interesting company. A German company, in fact, with some pretty impressive e-readers under their belt. How do they do it? Well, to no shock to anyone, they pull from Kobo Rakuten and use the Kobo shells as their entry into the e-reader market. We have seen that done time and time again over the years, so it's not that much of a shock. What we have here is essentially a Kobo Clara Color with a color EINK screen coming in at 6 inches and sunken. The backing has remained much the same with the repeating clover pattern, but a logo has been added to the front and the back. So what are the key differences between this and the Kobo? How is it different? Let's dive in and check how this performs. Don't worry, this isn't a comparison. The Tolino Shine Color, the review in question, is this one. On the right, we're just going to show you something real quick as to why we can't show you the device in its entirety. If we pressed that, sign in, on here, this is what would happen. You click sign in, it says your e-reader's up to date, and then when it gets regions, it says that the back-end region access is not found. When you click OK, it not only deletes your update, it sends you back to a factory reset. So needless to say, we're gonna steer clear of that button to the best of our abilities. Please don't mistake, because it takes about 8 minutes to get back to this location. So with that, let's check it out. Much like the Kobo, the unit is completely sunken screen. I love it. It's not sealed up like a lot of recent devices. You have a small LED indicator at the very top. The plastic is very nice to the touch. The back isn't anything amazing. They haven't really switched up the design from the Kobo. It is made out of 85% recycled plastic, so that's really nice. You have a little indented power button right there and a USB-C on the bottom. There's not really anything else to the device. Construction wise, it is pretty simple. It's pretty to the point. There's no buttons, there's no expandable storage, etc. There's technically no top drop down because everything is icon based. So if you want to look at the glow light, you click that. Yes, the glow light is on. You need glow light on Kaleido devices or else it looks like that, and comparing to what we just had off camera, it's supposed to look like that. So it doesn't matter if you use Onyx or Amazon or Kobo or Tolino or anyone, it looks awful with the glow light off, which is why when Fujitsu released their unit without a glow light, everyone kind of questioned their decision. It's a good unit, but the screen's just a little bit off. You have natural light, you have Wi-Fi, you have the battery icon, which gives you some information, energy saving settings as well, and you have the synchronized update. We're not going to touch that again. If we touch that again, we get the same kind of back-end issue. And you have search, which we are not going to search, because when we search there, it's going to trigger the bookstore and then factory wipe everything on our unit. But as our users said, well, you can still show the device if you put it in with your USB cable and hook it up to your PC. We know, but the reason you would get a Tolino, the only reason you would get a Tolino is to deal with multiple bookstores. When you click that, it'll send you to a choice of many different bookstores, Thalia included, a bunch of other ones from Europe, but we can't do that because on this recent line of devices, they have locked out access to anyone who is not in a select few European countries. So we can only avoid that. But let's look at the rest of the unit before we get into some content. You have web browser, which actually does work and doesn't have anything to do with the Wi-Fi networks blocking you. It's actually not the Wi-Fi network, it's the region. So because we're conducting this from Japan, we are not allowed access to the bookstores. So let's look at the keyboard while we're here. So you get a QWERTY style keyboard, and why I say style is because you'll notice the Q and the A, the W and the S, they're never truly on top of each other like that. This is a gridded stacked QWERTY instead of a staggered QWERTY, so it's not 100% the exact same thing, but just to show you that it does work indeed, we'll go to google.com just so we can load something and show you that it does have access. So if you had this, you do at least get a web browser, because if you didn't have that, oh man, I'll tell you, you'd be locked out of this thing. But at least now you can read your favorite blogs and stuff like that. You have large print mode, which just changes everything to very, very big. You can turn that off and on. And you have Sketchpad. Sketchpad is your fingertip, much like the Sony PRS 350 that uses resistive touch and resistive note-taking. This will use capacitive touch and capacitive note-taking. No, it does not work with the Tolino pen. The Tolino pen is earmarked for the Vision line, but it will work with things like this, capacitive styli. Styli and styluses that simulate your fingertip. Now there's nothing you can do, save, clear, refresh, undo, redo. That's it, just this. There's not even a different pen, there's just really just not even an eraser. So I don't know who this is for. A lot of the time, like when Pocketbook, for example, gives you scribble pads, they give you some features. In fact, Pocketbook, technically speaking, was the first device to have color note-taking ever. They at least give you something, but Tolino is just clear. You get undo, so you can kind of undo one stroke, and then that's basically it. And it will save it to your home screen as a weird file that you can't really do anything with. So it's kind of a little bit of a failed feature, and we're not sure why it's one of the 3 included things under beta features, 2 of them not being very useful. Under settings, you have a bunch of things here. You have accounts, you can go Tolino account, Adobe account, etc. You can go back here and you have language and dictionaries, tons of languages, tons of dictionaries. You can edit these, you can download new dictionaries. There's a lot of options with that. You have energy savings. This is going to be a lot of different settings that will pertain to you saving energy, screen timeout, all that fun stuff. You have a pin lock as well. You have reading settings that's going to allow you to do different things to show up like dark mode. You have show Adobe EPUB page numbers, progress bar, just the kind of typical information type things on the top and the footer respectively. You have 16 gigs available on this unit, but you only get 12.3. Now granted, we did put some things on here, not a lot, but you don't have a whole lot of room. No, there's no expandable storage either. And that's really it. This is no different than the Kobo Clara Color. The only reason you would get a Tolino, again, if you're scrubbing, is for that button right there. You click that, get connected, you go over to the bookstores, and you start getting tons of content through multiple book channels. But since we can't do that, we're going to go to My Books. And this is some stuff we just sideloaded. So we're just going to start with some color content, move over to some books and maybe some manga after that, so it's nothing really too crazy to write home about. Also, the reason why we're doing this video blind like this in such a way is that it's the only way we can do it. Not only that, if you guys receive this well and you do want to see the shine and you do want to see the vision, which is a little bit off camera over there, then we'll do them. But this is kind of a way to gauge reception to see if you guys want to see a bricked device review such as this. Now the colors shine through very well. Granted, we have the glow light on. If you turn that off, it doesn't look very good at all. And to bring something in with some sort of vibrancy like the Tolino box to show you what colors in the world should look like, and then you get the light blue of the person's shirt here, you'll see that the colors are quite dull. And it's the inherent problem with Kaleido across any manufacturer, because they all come from the same place and they're all using the exact same unit. Must have the glow light on at least 40% to take the edge off. If you don't, it just looks bad. But when you do have the glow light on, you're using more battery, sure, not by a much, but you do get a lot better imagery. You just get a lot more vividness, and the color shines through, all pun intended, when you just give it a chance. If you do have the glow light on, boo-hoo, it uses slightly more battery, you're now able to leverage the true power of what Kaleido is meant to be used for. So in that regard, it's kind of fine to just have the glow light on. It's kind of that elephant in the room thing that people always say, well, you have the glow light on. And we're like, well, I mean, yeah, we know that. We've been covering the second wave of color since 2019 on the iReader C6. We know the glow light must be on, otherwise it doesn't look good. When you have it on, you get children's books that look great, manga that looks great, colors shine perfectly fine. And let's go over to a manga so we can see exactly how that looks as well. Granted, it's gonna matter how you format your manga and where you get it from. This one is poorly formatted, but it gives you an idea. Also, just a little bit of a kind of side note, this is very unnatural because manga is not color almost ever. And we're not sure why this one we downloaded is in color. I presume it's the English version, which is why it's written in English, but it's more of a graphic novel-y type thing, because true manga is black and white, 100% of the time. It's black and white. You get the front picture and a couple lead-in pictures, maybe some interruptive notes from the author, but it's gonna be black and white. But anyways, you do have very good imagery. It's very high quality. The black and white is of a very high pixels per inch. You start to dilute it when you get into the colors, because the color ray filter, much like having saran wrap over your screen, does affect the overall way that the light passes through, that it reflects up to your eyes. It is just going to not look as good as something like Gallery, something like Spectra, something like your LCD smartphone. But it's easy on the eyes and it uses significantly less battery. But manga's fine, although in this case, again, even though Kobo Rakuten and Tolino respectively have their own manga selections, you must sideload. This is a Project Gutenberg example book. I always found it very funny, by the way, how they say this can be used anywhere at no cost with no restrictions whatsoever. Almost. So they throw in an almost there, because no blank whatsoever means without any sort of contestment, any sort of argument. It's just free and clear. But they're like, almost no restrictions whatsoever. I just always found that kind of comical, because it's like, well, you're having your cake and eating it too. You're saying it's all good, but there's something you're not telling me. Either way, let's see what we can do with the reading experience. This is going to be the reason you buy this unit, for ebook reading. So you have yellow, pink, light blue, and green for highlights. You can highlight anywhere on the page that has bodies of text. You can go green, you can go light blue, all sorts of nice stuff. You can click the middle as well, and you get all the stuff that pops up, the glow light and the text augmentation. The reason I've really liked Kobo's base infrastructure that Tolino's using is that it's really nice with all these toggles that they give you. And they have an advanced section, which they haven't changed in quite some time. And I kind of like that they haven't changed this for 4 generations now. You can choose a before and after of font size, weight, and the font face of what it does look like and what it will look like. And then you can change it to that, or you can revert it and you can X out if you don't like how out of the way you've gotten and you got carried away from yourself. Other than that, man, you get a lot. Look at this, line spacing, margins, and font size. You can really boost things up, or, you know, make things kind of barred in the middle. So it just depends on the way you like reading your books, but it can be perfectly used with one hand, although it's more comfortable with 2, because it's not a bar style unit like a high break, like a Hisense device. It is more of a flatter ebook reader, so you can use it one-handed. You can tap to go back, swipe to go back, etc. Just better with 2. The overall plastics used in this as well are very nice, as we said at the top of the hour, kind of a hard rubber plastic, and it's made with recycled materials, so in that regard it's cool. You do have some view details, dictionary, etc., and you can go here that takes you to the reading settings that we showed you earlier. Other than that, there's not really anything you can do except take some notes, and I don't mean hand-drawn notes, I mean add a note. And when you click add a note, you can start typing, and you can say Peter and then press save. It was terrible, did not recognize what I wrote. And overall, that's it. It's an ebook reader at its core. And in terms of the review, we're done. Reason being, there's no other use case for this unit in its current state. In fact, the only things you get outside of this is your little beta features. So in the specific set of circumstances that you like Tolino, which is great, and you live outside of Germany, Switzerland, Austria, Belgium, etc., which is fine, and you want to continue using this, this is what to expect. A locked out experience that you've been delivered a bricked device that you can only utilize with the USB cable and an intermediary like a laptop or a PC or a tablet, and you should never click that button right there. That's basically the whole kit and caboodle. In the end, it's no secret that they are using Kobo devices. It is a well-known and admitted fact of the brand. But on its own, it does have some merits, like a different operating system, different logoing, multiple store selections for your ecosystem. Not only that, it is sold in some regions that Kobo does not touch, as well as having a completely different customer service infrastructure. Is it enough to make it different? Yes and no, but it shines all the same.